What's up, fam? It's the Broke Capitalist coming at you early Friday, the day after the Twitter files part 2 drop. And I'm not going to go into great detail about what happened there, but it's worse than you thought. But what has been confirmed is certain people had the capability to shadow ban content. That content has so far been proven to be, drumroll, right-leaning content. I'm going to go as far as saying just common sense content. They suppress doctors who made common sense evaluations about, children getting a certain beer sickness jab. They shadow banned politicians running for elections during the election cycle. So yeah, go check that out on Twitter. But what I'm here to do to tell you is it's worse. I know it's worse. And how do I know? It's on your screen. So I mentioned before that there was a lawsuit out there, and this is like the latest iteration of it. It's basically Dr. Shiva versus all of these people and Twitter. Now, this is before Elon bought Twitter, so he bought Twitter with this lawsuit ongoing. See the date there. This amendment, I believe, to the complaint was filed in July of 2020, right? Of 21. So this is ongoing to my knowledge. I haven't heard a resolution of this. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments. But what we got out of this basically was, without going into great detail, I'll leave that up to you guys. The Long-Fuse report, misinformation, and the 2020 election. So this is a collaboration of education, government, and big tech, how they should and can and will suppress information that gets out to the American public. Now, this is all discovered during the discovery part of this lawsuit, and I'll bring it back up on the screen if you guys want to take the time and go find it and read it. It's out there, several variations of it. You can actually go to Dr. Shiva's website, and he has a fire hydrant information on this subject in general. But I think the most damning and important thing that came out of this lawsuit in this discovery phase was this finding this report. And this report's authors stretch from, I believe, Stanford to University, I believe, or Harvard University. It's one of the top tier schools in America, over to England, the US government. Twitter's involved in this. It goes into every social media apparatus or company is suspect, period. They have been formulating a reality that's not necessarily true. And I'll give you a little personal experience to give you an example of what I'm talking about. So I used to do a lot of question answering on the website Cura. Well, I noticed that a lot of what I could only consider bots, like I say something very benign about an issue, and I get all these replies, and it's like, why is everybody so heated? I just basically said the sky was blue, right? So I literally contacted them and asked them, do you have bots on your site? And they said, we don't know. They gave me a generic answer about, if they are there, we don't know anything about it, we're trying to combat it, whatever. So I pretty much stopped using that, because it was just I'll go there, answer a question, and just get all this hatred. And I'm not hating on anybody, I'm just answering questions, right? No need to get all hostile. Then I noticed on the website, I don't know if you guys have this where you're at, but it's a website called Nextdoor. And the idea of Nextdoor is brilliant. Like, if you're in a certain neighborhood and you're noticing certain trends, like, hey, I keep seeing like these teenagers roaming around at 2 in the morning. Are you guys seeing that? Hey, keep a lookout. Or I grew too many tomatoes. Anybody want to come pick them up? Or, I want to sell this couch. I really don't want to throw it away. Somebody pick it up. Well, then I started noticing all this negative political stuff on Nextdoor. And it just seemed to me just there to rile up people's emotions and get them to look away from right-leaning topics. I remember someone got an epic time delivered to their mailbox, like a free, hey, check us out. And this person comes up on Nextdoor to warn people against receiving a right-leaning newsletter. Like, we should go to the post office and have this banned. Like, dude, it's called free press for a reason. You didn't pay for it. They just put it there. Why are you blowing up on this? So you had this big debate and conversation going on for several days about free speech and why you should allow this and why you shouldn't allow this, blah, blah, blah. And since the election cycle is over, now it's nothing but crime. And I'm like, I live in a fairly safe area, but if you're on Nextdoor, you would think you live in 1985 Detroit, Michigan, right? So that's another example of how, I believe these companies manipulate your perceived reality, right? To make you think, although you live in a fairly safe neighborhood, now you can't leave the house, right? What's going on with Twitter? I refuse to believe is limited to Twitter, because the capabilities of what they're doing is outlined in this report. And as you can see this, it says Facebook. I don't know what that is for, but that's, I believe, Nextdoor. If this is Instagram, I think, Twitter, and you see the outreach on here. So Amazon, books. I'm skipping ahead here. Let me backtrack. So Facebook, Google search, Wikipedia, Reddit, Amazon books, Amazon Web Services. Remember what they did with Parler? They could just snatch you right off of Amazon if they don't like your content. They could take you off the App Store if they don't like your content. That's what Apple was threatening to do with Twitter now that Twitter is opening it up to the world, what everybody suspected, that there's a bunch of shenanigans going on. And in my own personal experience talking about Amazon books, and I contacted Amazon about this, and you guys be the judge of this. And of course, I got a BS. Okay, now I can't get to it. I got a BS answer from Amazon about this. Come on, man. Come on, man. That's not what I wanted. Man, I can't get to this. Okay. Okay. Here we go. So as you all may know, I author a few books. I've authored a few books. I also I authored a few books, and I'm not narcissistic enough to believe that my YouTube channel should be the #1 YouTube channel in the world, or my Twitter account should be the #1 or number 10 or number 100. But I am a believer in free market competition. And this is an example to me where this just doesn't seem right. So here's a book called White Supremacy and Me, right? I've never read it, but I'm gonna contradict pretty much what's in this book just based off of what I have read about the book. So this is basically white supremacy is bad. It's responsible for all the evils in the world, especially people of color, and white people need to get on board and denounce this, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna give a different viewpoint of this book and books like this, like the 1619 Project, for instance. Now, if you ever advertised on Google, you would pay a certain amount of money for keywords. Like for my book, Our Two Societies, let's say, well, if someone wanted to find Our Two Societies on Google, well, if they type in Our Two Societies, I pay Google like 25 cents. If they click on the link or whatever, then I have to pay Google 25 cents. They come look at the book and they say, I don't want the book. I'm out 25 cents, but there's a little recognition that goes, well, at least they saw the book, right? So you do the same thing if you're selling books on Amazon. For example, Me and White Supremacy. So people who have an interest in that category, that subject matter, well, they might also be interested in hearing a different perspective on that subject. So me as an author, I'm like, well, okay, this seems like a decent book to put my book next to. So meaning if you type in white supremacy and me, that book comes up on your screen, and then maybe my book will come up prominently placed so you can see it along with that book. Well, typically, I've been doing this a while. Typically, if I want to bid to have my book displayed prominently on the screen along with this book, the keywords, I mean, at most is 35 cents, 50 cents, 75 cents, $1. Like, that's typically what the keyword, the cost of, the keyword is. But for this book, it's $7.14. So just think about that. What's the effect of that? Well, this book is up, White Supremacy and Me. I'm not putting my book up next to White Supremacy and Me on taking a chance that someone will click on it and say, you know what, this seems like a good book, but I don't really want to read it. I'm out $7.15, 14 cents. Think about that. So basically, what's the likelihood you're going to get an objective alternative to this viewpoint? Very little. So again, what they're doing on Twitter is suppressing right-leaning content. What I'm saying, I believe they're doing across social media, including Amazon Web Services, they're doing the same thing with different techniques. I want whistleblowers at these companies to come forth, man. You got to do this. You have to protect this. And this is freedom of speech, right? This is what's keeping the world together. America's freedom of speech, the First Amendment, and the Second Amendment. Without those things, we go the way of Canada and New Zealand. Period. Hey, man, I hope you guys got something out of this. Follow me on Twitter, The Broke Capitalist, at Andre Said This. Go to the website, theBrokeCapitalist.com. You can follow me on YouTube as well. Love all y'all. Holla at me. What do you think? Give me comments in the comment below. And have a great weekend, man. Peace.